Thank you for your support of Shabbat Night Live. Because of you, we are able to tell really cool stories about the Bible. Keith Johnson, Nehemiah Gordon, welcome back. We are talking about how Mount Zion Hotel, Michael Rood, Nehemiah Gordon, Keith Johnson all meet together for the first time all around this very Torah scroll. And I understand this scroll has only been on television ever, once?
Yeah.
Once before. This is the second time ever.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I actually show the people where you keep it? My wife took this photo the other day at Keith's house, and ever since he got it, he's kept it in this, you can see it here, in this little space with the light coming out. It's very beautiful. But I think this is other than taking it out for my wedding and maybe a few other things, it's the only second time it's ever been on television.
Wow.
And I'm really excited about that.
Well, I'm excited too, but I want to tell you what happened.
Okay, tell us.
Before we get to the thing, I know what he's going to do. He's going to push my buttons. This is what he does. He pushes my buttons. So what we're going to do, so now Nehemiah says, would you like me to read it for you? Of course we would. He takes off the cover. He unrolls it. There are no chapters. There are no verses.
Right.
He just unrolls the scroll. And he starts to reading in Hebrew. I say, Nehemiah, what are you reading? I'm reading here in Leviticus chapter 23 about the holiday of Shavuot. You say, I start dancing. Why do I start dancing?
I thought this guy was crazy. He's like, woo!
I'm dancing.
Like,
why? Because I had a dream. And in the dream, God tells me, meet me in my city at the time of Shavuot.
Oh, that's right, yes.
The Arab man takes me to a Jewish man's house. There are 3 scrolls. I picked the one I think is going to fit in my empty suitcase. I find a man who can read the scroll. Michael introduces him to me. We go to the apartment. He just unrolls the scroll and starts reading.
So you didn't specifically pick out this passage.
This is important.
So here's the point in a Torah scroll to get, and we'll see this. I'm really excited because in a future episode of Shabbat Night Live, we're actually going to open up this scroll and show it to people with Keith's permission. You guys have set up a technology where they'll actually be able to see what's inside the scroll.
Wait, are we going to do that?
We're going to do it.
And this is a very special scroll, I understand.
And one of the issues is you can't just flip from page to page. It's a scroll. It's a whole process to roll it from section to section. So all I do is I unroll and I start reading the closest paragraph to me, which is the last paragraph on the page.
Wow.
And I'm not thinking about the dream this guy had. I'm just choosing what is in closest proximity, the first paragraph at the bottom.
And Scott, at this point, I'll never forget it. Michael's there. I'm dancing. Nehemiah's read. And Michael's just looking out the window. And it's the 3 of us. Okay? Now think about that. Michael's looking out the window like, oh my goodness. Nehemiah's confused. And I'm dancing because I'm watching vision and provision. God gives a vision. There's provision. I don't know about the prophecy of Isaiah at that point. I don't know about being called to get the Torah for it to go. Since that time, we have done Torah portions off this Torah. We've done Torah pearls. We've done prophet pearls. All of it based on the teaching going forth around the world. Here's where it gets interesting. After all of that, I tell Nehemiah, I need you to teach me how to read it. He said, no way. I need you to help me. He says, ain't gonna happen. And the next day, we're in the old city of Jerusalem. We're talking. It takes a long time. I say, Nehemiah, I really need your help. I need to be able to read this scroll. We went through a process. No. The long story short was he agreed. He put me through an intense process. One day we went to a synagogue. Can I tell the synagogue story? We go to a synagogue. We go to a synagogue. Well, maybe I shouldn't tell the story.
No, tell it.
No, I want you to tell the story. We go to a synagogue. What happens?
And
You're the conspiracy guy.
And they have this Torah scroll there. And in front of everybody there, I'm like, okay, Keith, you've done this 1.5 years with me teaching you Hebrew. Let's see you read the scroll. No preparation, and remember, there's no vowels in there.
Right.
There's no commas, there's no periods, although we'll see something very special in here.
Oh my gosh.
But in a normal scroll, it's just the consonants, just letters, and the spaces between the words. But other than that, all you have is the letters. And he unrolls it and he starts to read and translate. And I've never been so proud.
He's proud of me. Now, here's why this is significant, Scott. Something's happened in the last few days. We opened the scroll the first time with, well, I guess I should tell what happened in the meantime. I probably should tell that. We opened the scroll the first time. Why is this related to you? A rude awakening, all of that. When I had an opportunity to do some teaching, I was invited to a television station called God's Learning Channel. They wanted to do, can I use this 1 second?
Go ahead.
They wanted me to do a series on this book, His Hollywood Name Revealed Again. I had sent it to the owner of the television station. She read it. Actually, her words are in this book. How it touched her. In the back, there's a CD that has the names of God. It's just, I love this book. Okay, so they bring me and I'm doing a 12-part episode series on this book. At episode 7, I'm over in Israel with Nehemiah, and we're preparing another series for television. We're going to do a series on the Gospel of Matthew. So we're over there talking and we're preparing, and I get an email. And the email basically says, Keith, we're going to stop your series unless you can get your friend Nehemiah Gordon to come on TV and do a live debate with a
Jew who's converted to Christianity.
A Jew who's converted to Christianity. They wanted to have a disputation. If you don't bring your friend into television, you're done. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah.
I have the emails.
Now you have I feel like you're not setting the full context here.
Of course not.
Right? So
I'm looking at the clock.
So Keith does a 12-part series on the name, and as part of that series, he brings this Torah scroll in. He brings in a facsimile edition of the Aleppo Codex, facsimile edition of the Leningrad Codex, and I mean they're photographs where you can actually see in color. And he talks about the name. I'll be honest, I've never actually watched this series, but I hear it's really good. and then afterwards, they invite him to come in and do more series, right?
Yeah.
Like, what was it, 3 or 4 more series?
Yeah, for the whole year.
For the whole year he's going to be on. And he probably freaks out and says, what am I going to do for all these episodes? And he invites me to come on for one of the 12-minute segments. So he flies to Israel. He's sitting on my couch in my apartment in Jerusalem. I'm out walking my dog, Georgia. I walk back in with Georgia, and I see him sitting on the couch like he's in shock. He's stunned. He's disappeared off their website. They've pulled his book off the store like in the middle of the night. For us in Israel, it was the middle of the night. And they've said, if you want to come back on, you got to have your Jew come and debate our Jew. And
now that's what really happened.
No, that was offensive on a profound level, for me at least. Why it was offensive is that Jews in the Middle Ages, when they were living under Catholic rule, were forced to debate Catholics. They were forced to debate what people who call themselves Christians, right? And these were called the Disputations. And there's one of the most famous disputations is the Disputation of Barcelona in 1263 with Nachmanides, and he appears before King James I of Aragon. And he asked the king to be released from the disputation. He says, what's the matter? Are you afraid to debate? And he didn't know who he was talking to. Nachmanides explained, I spent my whole career debating. He is one of the rabbis who debated other rabbis on almost every point of Jewish tradition and law. So literally his whole career was spanned with debates. He was a master at this sort of argumentation. He said, however, when the mouse comes to debate the lion, no matter how good a debater he is, he prefers to be released from the debate, meaning we are subjects under your rule. You Catholics, you're the ones who judge us who won the debate. If we lose, we could be forcibly converted. If we win, and he did win, he was eventually exiled from Spain. And he died far away from the land where he was born, his father was born, his grandfather was born, where all his family lived. And he got to go to the land of Israel, but still, you're away from your family, not by choice, but because you want to debate. Imagine that. And so I'm being told, if Keith wants to stay on television, Keith has to bring his Jew, me, to debate their Jew, who's a Messianic Jew or a convert to Christianity. Sure.
Can I tell you a secret? For a few minutes, we discussed how Nehemiah would wipe the floor. We discussed the debate. We said we only had one requirement. It had to be live. No taping. Just for a few minutes.
Well,
we talked.
No editing.
No editing.
No creative editing.
And then Nehemiah does what he always does. He gets wisdom from other people. He's calling, and somebody said to him something really significant. Nehemiah, do you remember what that person said?
This person said, if you win the debate, they're going to hate us even more.
You can't do the debate.
And look, my whole career, I had a mentor who was what's called an anti-missionary, a counter-missionary. His whole career was to convince the Christians why they're wrong and the Jews are right. And I was expected to follow in his footsteps. And early in my career, I thought, all right, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I had these conversations with Christians, and I found that they were not productive. I found that I learned more, and I was blessed more by focusing on the common ground.
Amen.
Rather than debating about why I'm right and you're wrong.
Amen.
Rather, okay, this is how I see things, here's how you see things. Let's try to understand each other, working together on that common ground. And what this Christian television station was trying to do was drag me down into something that went on in the Middle Ages, where Jews were forced to convert to Christianity, to debate Christians or Catholics. And I said, you know what? No, that's just going to lead to more hatred. And that's not what I'm about. My ministry is about focusing on the common ground and building up bridges rather than tearing them down.
Amen. Now, here we go again. Now I'm kicked off television. I'm over in Israel. I'm like, wait, what happened? And it's a
this is what you were planning on doing for the whole rest of the year.
I was going to do the rest of the year. And the long story short is the Father was doing something so much deeper. Now, can I bring it again up to context? So eventually, Nehemiah is over in the United States, and he gets a phone call from someone that says, hey, did you know Michael has got a studio in Charlotte? And
I'm at Keith's house in Charlotte.
He's at my house. We're doing study. We've been going back and forth. It's been here, there, blah, blah, blah. We get here, and he says, hey, listen, Keith, I need a ride. Can you give me a ride over to Michael's?
Let's go over to these studios.
This studio.
I mean, I don't think it was built up quite as much as it is now.
It wasn't like this at the time, right?
Yeah.
But listen to this guy.
Building.
This is the sort of, and I am so thankful. I don't think people realize the influence that Michael has had on so many people at so many different levels. If I just take Michael and his influence in my life, it's enough to fill a book. So we come here in the studio and there's nothing here, but Michael's here. First, he wasn't going to be here.
Oh, we're supposed to get a tour of the studio. He's not even going to be here.
He's not going to be here.
He's out of town somewhere else. We walk in. He happens to have just come in. And I had just some experiences. Keith had some experiences. And we tell Michael what happened. And
Michael says, everything changes.
Everything changes.
He said everything changes.
And also he had an event he was going to do over Shavuot, and the person involved, I don't remember who was it, a heart attack or something. Yeah. And that's it. The event's over, or we don't know what to do. And we walk in completely we're not supposed to be there.
Completely no connection.
And Michael says, okay, will you guys do Shavuot? That ends up being the Open Door series.
Oh, wow.
Open Door series wasn't planned.
It wasn't planned.
It was, we were going to do one event because some guy had a heart attack, and we had just been through some really
difficult situations.
Difficult and blessed situations, right? I'd had my experience in Smithfield. People can go watch about that. And that came together, and we end up having the idea of, okay, I think Michael had the deal. Let's do another one. Let's do Yom Toráh. Then we do a third one.
We did 3 of them.
And that became the Open Door series. So out of the adversity that we faced over this Torah scroll coming on television and him being kicked off of the television, we end up doing something that blessed hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions. That, you know, this Open Door series has been now on YouTube, and some of the episodes, I don't even know.
It's now being translated into Spanish, the Open Door series.
They're translating into Spanish. We're going to we have transcript and hopefully eventually subtitles. And it's just blessing people around the world. Yeah. So what some entity intended for evil turned out to be for a blessing for good. And we were able to, and it's interesting, we actually calculated the amount of time Keith would have been on television, the number of minutes. That's what you do. You count up the number of minutes. And we found out that it was actually more in the Open Door series than we would have gotten on Christian television.
Yes.
And I think a lot more people saw it, the Open Door series, than the Christian television.
That? And can I say this again? This is why, again, I'm so appreciative for Michael, because this thing continues to grow. Now it gets even better.
Oh, okay. All right.
So we do this, I take it, I put it on the airplane, it goes there, they kick me off, they say, get rid of your Torah scroll and your Aleppo Codex and your Leningrad Codex. We go back, we do the Open Door series. All of that is taking place. Now, every time there's a holiday, I always open up my scroll and I read it. Not much more than that. Really, we've focused on a number of different things. Then we get the invitation to come in and do the Hebrew Gospel Prose. To finish the Hebrew Gospel Prose, the Biblical Beatitude series, we taped right here, thanks to you guys, with an excellent, the production group, they're excellent. Michael's Yes and Amen is excellent. Scott, all of you guys, Ted, it's been we just finished that. In preparation for that, Nehemiah makes a suggestion. He says, Keith, that last verse where we talk about rejoicing in the Torah scroll, maybe we should take a look inside your Torah scroll again.
We've got the rejoice over getting married. I got married in front of the Torah scroll. We've got the rejoice Simchat Torah, the celebration of the Torah. It kept leading me back to this. I said, let's open up the Torah scroll. Now, the background for this, Scott, is for the last few years, with a little bit of a break in the middle with COVID, I've been traveling around the world examining Hebrew Bible manuscripts, both codices, that's codexes, the book form, and the scrolls. And I have traveled all over. I've been to Washington, D.C., the British Library, Cambridge, Oxford,
Germany,
the Berlin State Library of Berlin, Russian National Library in St. Petersburg, the Vatican, Austrian National Library, and a bunch more I can't even remember. Some of them I'm not allowed to say where they were exactly. Some private collections. I've been to see all kinds of scrolls all over. And we're studying this Hebrew Matthew, and I said, Keith, I've looked at all these scrolls from all these different people. Let's look at your scroll. Would you allow me to do with your scroll what I've done with scrolls now all over the world? And
what is that? What do you do to these scrolls?
What we're looking at is examining the fine details of the scroll. Now, we did a little bit of that, Scott, just after I came back from Museum of the Bible in an earlier Shabbat Night Live episode. But I thought, wow, what if we could do that with this Torah scroll? I don't know what we would find. Maybe we'd find nothing and it wouldn't be interesting.
And maybe we'd find nothing.
But we opened it up and we saw things that I've never seen any Torah scroll ever before.
Really?
And some of them are very interesting things. And what I'd really like to do, if you'll allow us to do this, so we can get the technology to work, is to come back on Shabbat Night Live, open up this scroll, and in real time show the people with a camera peering down what types of things I see in the scrolls, the character of the scroll, the character of the scribe, the community that wrote the scroll. Like you said, every scroll has a story, and that story is told through the characteristics of the actual scroll. They're not all identical, and boy, is this one not identical. There are so many, we found like 7 or 8 things in this scroll where I'm like, okay, wow, we need to photograph this, we need to document it, we need to study this.
And,
Fascinating scroll.
I'm overwhelmed. I have a dream. He gives me a scroll. He gives me provision to get to Israel. I meet Michael, who has me meet Nehemiah. We go through this whole process, what I think is terrible. I get kicked off, I get back on and write a book. All of that stuff happens, and I'm thinking it's over. We've done the scroll. Until a couple days ago. And when the scroll is opened, the first thing we find, I'm not going to say it, because I don't want to, relates all the way back to the trip to Israel.
Goodness.
It relates to Michael. It relates to Nehemiah. It relates to what we've been doing. I'll just tell you, Scott, the fact that you came in, look, folks, he wasn't planning on coming. The phone call came. Hey, they're gonna bring in the scroll. You had to put your suit on.
Last night.
Look, they called in the big guns. I mean, you weren't planning it. We weren't planning it. Nehemiah, were we planning it? We weren't planning this. But to show people what my wife and I, can we just show one picture here?
Sure.
There's a picture of Nehemiah reading Leviticus chapter 23 again. This time he's reading it in front of me, his wife Linnell, my wife Andrea at our house. That is so significant because that picture again brings us full circle. We're going to actually, I'm just going to say, I'm so excited. I get to see Michael. I'm going to give him the biggest hug because he has changed not only my life, but so many lives. And this scroll represents his yes.
One of the things I'm really excited about is I have got this little device, which it's a microscope that can look at the ink in 50x magnification, visible light, ultraviolet, and infrared, and you can see all kinds of interesting things when you look in different manuscripts. And I'm going to actually show this for the first time on television.
So we can do.
I don't know.
Look, it's going to be on television.
I don't know that anybody has ever seen this
So the next episode, can we set that up on stage, and we'll see if we
Yeah.
can swing it with our crew here. Can we show that on with your microscope, like real time while we're taping here?
That's my goal. I'd like to do that. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well,
I'll never get past the first thing he found. No, I'm telling you.
right, well,
I'll leave the studio after the
hold
first
on
thing.
to next week. Let's just hang on. All right.
All
So
right.
you heard it first here. Okay. So we're going to open this scroll next week on Shabbat Night Live with Nehemiah Gordon and Keith Johnson. Until then, thank you for joining us. Shavua Tov. Have a great week, and be sure to tune in next week here on Shabbat Night Live.